So the next session is also about AI, as I've just said, and it's about building systems, building scalable systems. Who of you, I already know that you work with AI, but who has an assistant that gets things done for you in the background? Not the majority. That's good news. That means many of you are going to learn a lot. So during our next session, we will learn how AI changed what I deliver, from consultant to builder. This is our last session, so please stay and enjoy. Welcome on stage, Lucas.
Hi. Yeah, really excited to be here, to be closing the stage. I've learned a lot over the past 2 days, to be honest, and I feel I have a bit of like a follow-up on couple of like sessions that I've seen, especially this one and then some other English speaking. So yeah, let's walk you through that. What I'll show you is really just to inspire you to kind of like build system and build different things. And yeah, for me, the past like year has been like pretty interesting on how I do my work and what I do for work for my clients. So we'll work through that. But first, I have a question. I'm really curious to know how many people here record, or how many people like spend time on online calls. Okay, so maybe a bit more than half. How many of you then record those calls? Okay, so about the same. Okay, good. Now just think about what you do with those recordings. It's like, we'll come back to this later. Yeah, quick agenda for you, quick introduction, then what I built for me, and in the end what you can build for you, then what you can build for any client, and then a small exercise on what to find and build a system for that would work for you. So I'm a freelancer for the past 2.5 years. I do email marketing and CRM strategy. I've done that for 13 years now, and mostly CRM audit and recommendations. I have an online course that's also has been quite vastly shared online, but yeah, pretty standard freelancers, and that's really like the front of the postcards. That's that. But what you have in reality is like, I always need new clients, and how do I rely for this? It's referrals, it's LinkedIn, content inbound, and then of course like some partner agencies. And then the goal once I have a client is that I deliver the greatest experience as possible, so that they continue to kind of like refer new clients. To give you an idea, I work with like 7 to 10 clients per year, and yeah, averaging with like 3 clients at a time. How I work, mostly working from home. Notion has everything in it, and then all the good stuff to communicate and share documentation with clients, and special mention for accountable for all the finance and some of my taxes stuff. It doesn't do everything, but yeah, and Claude for the AI. And then, so that we are all aligned, I just want to define what I mean by builder. And that's really someone who's just like going beyond the initial skill set that you have as like a freelancer, and that you can think through a problem and then just ship a solution on your own. And you might ask, like, why would I need something like this? I think first it's like for you to understand how AI works, but also if it makes sense for your clients, and how can you enhance what you're like giving to your clients. So let's look at what I've been tinkering with for some time. And I've seen actually this slide multiple times throughout the days, but it's for success originally, but I think it's exactly the same for like AI adoption. So even though some stuff that I have at the moment is like pretty stable, it's been a pretty big, long and difficult path to that. And here I just try to kind of like summarize all the different like major steps that I went through to kind of like do that, and we'll go into details of all of those. First step was, I think like most of you, like ChatGPT, a lot of discussions, but then the main like reflection point was like, how would I do the work that I was doing 10 years ago. So like for me, that was like 2014. I was like building email campaigns for Airbnb with like 12 translations, a lot of like different stakeholders. So taking those translations, putting it into like HTML code, putting it into the tool would take me days. And like if you think about it, like nowadays, it would be done in like in the morning or even less. Another big discovery step, and it's again a follow-up, there's been Lego discussed on some other stage here. I really like Legos, and what I really like is the value in the Legos. So what you need to know about is that there's a lot of really high valuable sets and Lego minifigures, but people don't know about it. So if you place yourself in the middle and kind of like resell it, you can make a business out of it. And when I started freelancing, I was considering different business options, and one was like reselling Legos. And I was like thinking, okay, it's a volume game. So here you can see me with like 80 kilos of Legos that I just bought from someone, and then it's like processing, sorting, listing on eBay and like a specialized platform to sell at the right price. And on the envelopes here, there's some minifigures that are worth like 10, 30 euros. So it's like really like a volume game. So of course, then it becomes, how do you optimize your time doing this? So I started to like work through that with like ChatGPT and like, okay, this is the platform I want to sell on, this is what I need. So I started to try to develop like applications on ChatGPT, a lot of back and forth to try to make something. It was something running on local. And if you're familiar with like SEO, I basically built a SEMrush for Lego inventory where I wanted to know the rank of my minifigure against all the other sellers. And it worked. It showed me potential and how to develop like application with like AI, but it was still like pretty clunky. Then last year, another major moment was really during like a client's project. A lot of research through Perplexity and ChatGPT really helped me to kind of like aggregate and process a lot of like data, and first realization that, oh, okay, so if I can ingest all of this and put my thoughts into it, it could make some really great content and great recommendation for clients. Another small investment was like advancement. Was like around like projects in Claude or ChatGPT. Doesn't really matter, but just how to be able to kind of like create specific containers of like your knowledge, and then we'll look into the next example. So in my process with new clients, I'm pretty standard. I have like a template on Notion where I will kind of like always give them those different points. Now, there's actually a new one now, it's like case studies, but it doesn't change over time. But so yeah, I would always like have a discovery call with like potential clients, and then I would kind of like go back, process my thoughts, and kind of like write the different informations that I had gathered here. And yeah, it used to take me like 1 to 2 hours. Of course, I started to record all of my calls. Initially, not for doing that, but just because I wanted to get better at my sales process. But then once you have the AI summary or the transcript, it's like super valuable information. So what I did is like I copied that and then pasted it into Claude with the specific template that I wanted to turn it into, and then kind of like let it do the magic. Of course, you get something that's 90% ready. You need to add your secret sauce to it. You need to say the directions that you want to take, what kind of offer, what time commitment that you see. But the results is really fascinating. So the process really went from like 1 to 2 hours to the call is done. 10 minutes, I add my secret sauce to it, and then that's something I can send to the client directly. So as you do this more and more, that's a pretty interesting gain there. I had really nice GIFs on this presentation, but we made it static. So here you have like a mind-blown moment. Another use case I had was like around finance tracking. So I used to do it in spreadsheets and accountables, with like planning actual for like every month, trying to be quite precise on this. But I was always like not answering some questions that I felt like I needed something. So like, for example, how long can I hold without clients? And then I started to think, okay, maybe I can build a better solution for this. And I replaced that spreadsheet with like an app that has the same logic where I enter income, expenses, and account status. But now I know exactly how much cash runway I have. And again, here I have a really nice gift that you're not seeing. But I know when I can say no to potential projects. That's like a fantastic feeling as a freelancer. Also, I built some like other like smaller features, like if you have a mortgage, like scenarios on the income that you're making and the investment and so on. So. How do you do this? I'm not going too much into details because if you have seen the session from Christine yesterday, that's just that. It's like vibe coding with doesn't matter what tool. Google AI, Replit, Base44, Lovable, but you basically just write what you want and then it will take care of everything. Front end, back end, database, API connections. It's been fantastic. And for me, who's been trying to connect APIs for many years before that, I'm living the best life, like to be honest. So with all of this context, then this year I had like a major moment where I listened to a podcast and those guys were like talking about how they analyze like hundreds of like sales calls. And I was like, I don't really have like hundreds of sales calls, but I have my client calls. And then I started to kind of like combine all those like learnings. It's like, okay, what do I need? New clients, content ideas, project points and important points. What do I have? I know vibe coding and so on. So started to look more into this. And I say, okay, I'm going to build exactly that. I'm going to turn every call into actionable to-dos that go directly to my to-do list, content ideas, key project points, and then already start to draft deliverable documents that could be the first step towards what I need to give to my clients. If you like diagrams, that's what it looks like. So you record the call and you get the AI summary or transcript. For me, it's with Clap, but it's the same with like anything. Then I send it to a shell that is like a lovable application, but again, can be anything. Claude process all of this, it reads, it sorts, and then it sends it to my to-dos, to the content, to the projects. And then, of course, I can like manually push some information there. It's a video, so I'm going to skip this one. But basically, the to-dos, and so that's what the application looks like. That's something that you have all the different calls, and then you can go into like specific calls, and then each call will have different elements. We'll have to-dos, content ideas, learnings, and then if it's associated to a project, it kind of like goes there. For the to-dos, what's interesting is that I process all of those after each call. Some are for my stakeholders, so I don't take action on them, or for the others, I just push them to my other to-do list. And then, as mentioned, I like LinkedIn for like getting new clients, and I've always struggled to get ideas of like what to post. But all the calls that I have with the clients and potential projects are just like gold mines of like ideas. So I started to kind of like process this, and now I have like a long list of content briefs that can go into like a specific workflow where it would develop like a better hook, some story angles, and then of course again push it to my Notion to-do list, because then it's a consistency. So every day I have like 3 ideas I could like work on. Funny thing, I have, if you go to LinkedIn at the moment, you will not see any of those because I've been really busy with some other project, but I plan to catch up on that later. Another option that it's a bit more work in progress, but it's a good example that to explain that all of this building like doesn't cost anything. So like that's one idea I had around, okay, I want to have a place where I collect all my learnings that I could be applied to like different clients, but this is too much coming from like specific calls and not my thoughts with this. So at the moment I need to kind of like revamp a little bit this, but it's just interesting. It doesn't add much more complexity to kind of like do that. And now a feature that was like not planned initially, but came pretty handy as I signed one project that was going to be the perfect like beta test for this. So imagine that sign an audit recommendation with a lot of different stakeholders, quite a big company. And I had planned like 21 interviews with different stakeholders. So I was going to be able, I needed to kind of like ingest all that information and be able to remember all the different like key points that they had. So what I did is I said, okay, I'm going to route some of those calls in my application to like a project base where I'm going to give it the deliverables. So what I actually committed to deliver to that specific client. And then those deliverables are going to inform which key point needs to be extracted. And then all those key points will start to draft the deliverable document. Now, I know this is not the document I'll give to my client, that's for sure not, but it's a pretty good like starting base for me to have all the important information to process and to read when I deliver such project. And then a second layer on this was like, okay, what if I add a chat to this? Because sometimes I will miss some information, or I need to kind of like gather different things, or if two different stakeholders said two different things, or how do I reconcile this? So yeah. In numbers, just to give you an idea, since I started to kind of like use this, you see that 57 calls. More interesting for the output, 159 content ideas. That's like almost half a year if I kind of like go for that. And then for the one project, 360, and then it really wrote a lot of like characters there. Now, I feel that this is kind of like a central space for me to keep building on it. So I've watched the talk from Zitke before, so I don't know how much I want to push for like the automated Lignit post, but I think I can really get it to like a good draft or something like this. Then as I optimize the documents that I'm giving to the clients, I can feed that back and get always like better deliverable documents for that. And then I think the main one that I really want to tackle is like, beyond adding something to my to-do list, can it make a V1 of this? So for that, I'm expecting more like an execution type of project where it's like more like weekly. I work with the client to do different things. They tell me this feedback and we need to change this or that. So, but because all the tools can be connected, it's like it could really make a change directly to an email copy, to an email journey in whatever like email service provider. So I'm really excited to try that. And then of course, for all the sales calls, just like prospect and ICP identification, that's going to be pretty useful for it. Outside of that application, I think like tinkering has also like allowed me to kind of like share that stuff on LinkedIn as well, with videos and with some different posts. So I highly recommend everyone to kind of like do that. And now the things to watch out for, even though like the headlines at the moment are like companies are burning millions in tokens and so on and so forth. I'm far from that. At the moment, it's like Lovable. It's like $25 per month. If I do the Cloud API call for each call processing, it's like 5 cents per 30-minute call. So it's totally manageable. And then on top of all the tools that you need to connect and plug and so on and so forth. Then what's really interesting, and you've seen it with like the Lego examples and now like Lovable, if I would go back to my Lego idea and try to build it with Lovable, I'm sure it would work like instantly. So like the tools like really make us like progress faster. So I'm really curious to see what is coming next. But when you build and when you want to develop something, you really need to define what it is, because there's like a couple of like options and topics that I picked. I really built some like monstrosity because it was like not clearly defined. So be clear about the MVP that you want. Now building for the client. As a disclaimer, I don't go to clients and tell them and sell them that I'll build this or that. It's often that I go in and they ask me about like their CRM or their email marketing strategy or performance. So I will kind of like audit and do like a recommendation. And then because I will witness some like workflow or bottlenecks, then I'll kind of like push that topic, and then I gather ideas, prioritize them, show them how to do it. That's the interesting thing is I'll often come in and say, okay, I'll pick 1 or 2 topics, I'll build it for you to show that, and then similar to the previous conversation, then it will really be about like finding someone that will be your champion. But then what I've seen is that once that champion is building and showing the rest of the team that, some new team members really want to kind of like dip their toe in it. So yeah, example of like stuff that I've built, but yeah, nothing particular there. Now I cannot show you anything that I've built for the clients, but did I do something? One example that I have is you could pull all the data from an email service provider, create different dashboards. In itself, this is not so like revolutionary, but if you go for like something that's really specific to the company, so imagine a company that's sending like a newsletter every day, every week, every month, and that it's like really important for the business. You want to kind of like track this performance over time, and that's often not something you can do directly in the email service provider. Or another thing is companies that I work with, they run experiments to try to improve their journeys or their email campaigns, and they often have like a specific target, and they want to know how much each experiment is kind of like contributing to. Same, you can use that data plus some manual input that you can add to the application, and this is replacing usually teams doing it in like slides and manually pulling the data from like X places and bring it there. So it solves and makes them gain some time here. Now, for tips when you try to do that with clients, how advanced are they, and what size do they have? Because if they have a security and an IT team, it's a totally different story than if it's like only a few persons. Now, if you create or just write with AI, you who's delivering that, you really need to stand by everything that's written. So that's why all the documentation and all the deliverables that I give to my clients, I thoroughly review them, and then I'm usually like, yeah, pretty strong on that. Also interesting is that, and I think that's going to be more and more, is like you don't need to say that you're using AI as long as it gets the client results. You know, if you build this end-to-end workflow, or if you do this, doesn't matter as long as they get the result. And again, here, same as for you, build an MVP. That's really important. All right, 5 more minutes, perfect for the process to find and build your system. I've said it, it's been a process for me. I'm trying to give you some cheat codes here, but it could still be a process. So I define the process in like 2 steps. First step is audit, and second step is build. And I actually built an application so that you can follow that process. I'll show it again at the end, but you can already start to do that. So what's important is like at the moment, we mostly gain from time saving with like AI. So it's really important to know like where does your time actually go. So I have an example here. It's a freelancer doing paid social. During a week, they're managing like Facebook ads, writing scripts for new ads, and working on like visuals. And one task that takes them like a lot of time is like, okay, I'm writing scripts for like 15 hours a week. So that's already quite a significant amount of time. Then is this something you do across like multiple clients? Yeah, I write the scripts for like three clients. Are there tools like involved in this task? So where do you write those scripts? How do you add all the ads that you have? Where do you share those scripts once they are written? And then, super important, what do you bring that isn't in any tool? It's like, do you combine multiple elements? Do you take best performing ads from the competition? It's like, why is the output yours? And I think that's what I was like mentioning earlier, the secret sauce. That's when you kind of like bring it. So it's important to kind of like try to define this. And then if you systematize this, so does that mean that you save a lot of time because you don't spend that amount of time like writing scripts? Or can you take on more clients? Can you write more scripts, and so on and so forth? And once you've done that, the build part is easy, because you take the one with like the most potential, you build the smallest version that works on a real case, you keep iterating on it, and then you can actually start to ask yourself, like, is this something for others too? Just to give you an idea for the guided version, so it's a multi-step flow where I don't collect any data or doesn't talk to any AI or anything. It just gives you a prompt at the end that you can then take to Lovable or any other tool to see what recommendation of like system it would make, because it's going to be pretty good at saying, oh, you should actually connect this and that and try, and then you can talk with it to see what makes sense. So here's the link again if you want to do it. When you go on it, there's the flow, and then there's 2 boxes at the bottom. It's a bit of an experiment, because my whole speech here was like, you can build anything for you, and I hope that you really want to try. But I'm curious to see if anyone is like actually trying to or willing to not build and still buy some SaaS, because it could be a totally different topic. It's around like distribution of SaaS and technology. So maybe I'll come back next year for that. But yeah, there's 2 options. One, you can learn how to build, and one is maybe you're interested by one of those tools. So yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have 1 question and 1 comment. The comment comes back to the intro of the session, and I think it's true. But that's my personal opinion. For most companies, neither processes and data nor the people are ready for AI.
I agree.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm not alone. Now, the question, and it's a practical question, it's a compliance question actually, right? Do your clients know that you put the calls with them into AI, and do they speak freely?
Do they speak freely? Do they know? I actually want to write in my contracts with them that I record all my calls to be on the safe side. For now, I've been a bit more like tinkering, but because I have like NDAs with them and so on, that's kind of like trying to be covered around this. But that's something I want to do more proactively, yes.
Very good. And I think that's super important, even from a GDPR perspective or working cross-border, right?
Yes, but what I also see is that most of the calls, if I don't record them, like my clients are like recording it, because like I still bring like a lot of like value, and they want to kind of like keep that value in. So like, yeah, for the past couple of weeks, it's been, if I don't do it, they do it. But by default, I do it so that it goes directly into my systems.
Yeah, I mean, just taking the notes and doing it old school would be double work. So, I mean, why would we do that? Yeah. We have just a little bit of time, and to be precise, 7 seconds. So, who has a question? Does anyone have a question? Okay, can you speak a little bit louder? Do I have to walk up? Thank you.
Yeah. So because the to-do is based on what I've said in the call, I'm really cautious with what I say. And that's actually, forgot to mention that, but like my number 1 rule, and I hope everyone here, is that if you say that you would do something, you do it. So everything that is usually like labeled for me as a to-do, it's something I know I will do. It's just that then it's in my system, and then I adjust the due date, so I kind of like process it in the workload. No worries.
All right. Thank you so much. Lucas, you have had the immense pleasure together with me to conclude the 2nd day of Freelance Unlocked on this stage, the best stage. I hope that you have, no, all of them have been great. Come on. So yeah, no, thank you very much for joining. It's been a great pleasure. I hope that you've learned a lot. Maybe you can still find Lucas behind the scenes if he doesn't run away as the conference ends. From my side, thank you very much for the great attendance, for asking questions. You've been amazing, and I hope that we'll see each other next time. Take care.